Through this video, I'm going to share a very important message to all the youngsters of today's society. So, my quest for spirituality started at the age of 16 when I was in school. It was through one of my school friends. Since then, I have been encountered a very basic question that why do one need to practice spirituality from the young age, and we'll be discussing on this question in this today's talk. So people often say that youth is a time of enjoying different things. It's a time to focus on career, success, building friendship, boyfriend, girlfriend, etc. Spirituality is something that people should pick up when they are in their retirement phase, say 55 or 60 years. So based on my own 20 years experience in spiritual journey, I realized that the young age is the best age to begin our quest for spirituality. And there are some strong reasons for it. So we will be discussing 4 key reasons basis which one can understand that why we should practice spirituality in young age. The first reason, youth is the age of learning and getting trained. We see if any child want to excel in music or any sports like cricket, then from the very beginning of their life, they are being trained into that domain. Because in that age, they can learn things better, they can pick up things, and they can eventually become expert in that area. So it's an age of learning. Now we see in today's society a lot of discussions are taking place and a lot of people are talking about the fact that coding is the future. That means it's an age of digital technology, and from the very beginning of the life, one must send their child to learn coding. So they want their child to get trained so that they can have a very good career in future. That's what is getting promoted into today's society. Now let's talk a little about spiritual learning. So spirituality is a subject that talks about 4 different aspects of life. I mean, it has so many different areas, but 4 key areas covers majority of the areas. First is our body. We all have body. Then we have mind. Then we have spirit within this body, or you can say the spirit is functioning through consciousness. And then we have supreme spirit, or the super soul within the body. In young age, we can drive life at its full potential if we understand the interrelationship between these 4 aspects of life: the body, the mind, the spirit, and God. So spirituality is not about just going to temple, ringing bells in the temple, or just giving water to the deities. That's not the spirituality is all about, or just offering the lamps or incense to the deities. That's one aspect of it, but there's a lot more. We can get to know a lot of fundamental questions about life that we'll discuss in the next part. So youth is the age of learning and getting trained. Now when we say training, we see that a dog cannot be trained, but a puppy can be easily trained. Puppy is small. If you give him training to do different things for you, then puppy can be trained, but a dog cannot be trained. Likewise, if we get exposure of spirituality from the very beginning, then we get a good training into it. And once we get a good training of spirituality, we can lead our life as a good human being. The education that we get into the schools, or music that we learn, or any kind of sports that we learn in the beginning of our life, all those things do help us to make our career, but those things never help us in any way to live our life as a good human being. So if we want to live our life as a good human being, we have to take up to the path of spirituality. Now I was telling about training. If we live our life in a way, let's say we live up to 40 years and then we think, okay, let's now try to understand spirituality. In that age, we already have lived our life based on certain experiences, and at that age it becomes difficult for us to accept spirituality, or it is very difficult to understand some of the fundamental principles of spirituality. So because we have come into the category of dog, we are not puppy anymore. Like I mentioned, puppy can be trained, but a dog cannot be trained. Okay, so this is the first reason. Youth is the age of learning and getting trained. The second reason, in the young age, we all have a natural tendency to explore and experiment different things. And we all want to explore different kinds of enjoyments in this world without thinking about the repercussions of it. Like we see a lot of youngsters in today's society, they get into smoking, drugs, alcohol, just because of the association of friends, because they just think, okay, let's just experiment once, and eventually they get habitual of it, and then they leave, their life becomes a bizarre, basically, getting into drugs, smoking, alcohol, and all that, because they are living on the premise, just do it, and then they just keep on doing it, like we had this Nike slogan. So we do experiment and explore many different things. Let's explore spirituality also. Like there is a saying, don't accept anything blindly. So I always tell to people, okay, fine, don't accept anything blindly, but don't also reject anything blindly. At least give an attempt, make an effort to understand, try to explore, try to experiment. If you do not really find it a place, something that, if you do not really find that it is something that you should really look forward in your life, then you can leave it at any time, but at least make an effort, make an experiment to understand it. Then the third principle, the fundamental questions about life and its existence. We all know that As youngsters, our brains are very active and we get a lot of questions about life and its existence. So, spirituality helps us in getting reasonable answers and irrational as well as logical answers to those very questions of life and its existence. When we are in schools, we are being taught about the Big Bang Theory, but we are never being taught about the Big Brain Theory. Big Brain Theory is how this whole universe is functioning under the control, supervision, and guidance of God. We are not being taught about it. We are simply busy in talking about Big Bang, and it has no practical implication in life. And there are so many other questions that we can get sorted when we are practicing spirituality in young age. Because as we grow in life, then we live our life in certain way and we accept things as they are. We don't have too much quest left. We just keep on going without really doing a deep dive exercise on the fundamental queries of life and its existence. So the young age has that opportunity, that potential to really do that deep dive into these questions of life. Okay, the last one, the fourth one. So we all know that we all have desires. In the young age, we have desire to enjoy different objects of this world. And the usual thought of the society is as we grow old, then we fulfill all the desires and then we can, think about getting into the spirituality. But it does not really happen because the desires never end. Our capacity to fulfill those desires may not exist anymore, but the desires never end. Like for instance, if we are 55, we may desire to enjoy different things. We may desire to enjoy some sweets. We may desire to enjoy some let's say smoking. We may like to smoke. We may desire to do so. But if we are suffering from cancer and the doctor has strictly prohibited us from smoking, then we cannot. So there is a desire, but we cannot fulfill that desire. So desire never die. Our body is dying every day, but desires never die. So what spirituality will do as youngsters? Spirituality will help us to have a control over those desires that never die. So that's the whole purpose of spiritual life, to have a control over these desires that we want to fulfill every day in and day out. Okay, so we can learn the art of controlling our desires by engaging those desires for something which is beneficial, something that we can perform throughout our life, irrespective of how our bodily situations are. So we discussed the 4 key reasons. First, youth is the age of learning and getting trained. Second, in young age, we all want to do experiments and explore different things with the idea of just do it. So why we do not make an attempt to explore and experiment the path of spirituality? Then third, whatever fundamental questions about life and its existence we have, those questions as well as the answers to those questions we can easily understand in young age as our brains are very active. And the last is desires never die. But if we get good training in the beginning, we can learn to control our desires. So in this session, we talked about the 4 key reasons of why one should practice spirituality from the very young age. Now, in the next session, I'll be discussing on benefits of practicing spirituality. So, for example, somebody may say, okay, fine, we understand that we should practice spirituality from young age, but what benefits I will have, especially if I am in young age, what benefits I can have from practicing spirituality. So we'll be talking about benefits so that you can have more reliance on this path of spirituality, and then you can take it up in your life. Thank you very much.